So I've been studying flamenco now for a number of months, and it's been one of the most eye-opening experiences as a musician. As a group of 10.
Uno, dos.
No, think of it in 6. 9, 10, 11, 12.
It's really changed how I understand rhythm and form in particular. And if you stick around until later on in the video, you can hear a composition that I recently wrote, which infuses elements of flamenco with my own style in writing music. For those of you who aren't familiar with this genre, flamenco is a form of Spanish music that involves voice, instruments such as the acoustic guitar, percussion, and dance. When I'm writing music, I'm constantly looking for inspiration from other musicians, styles, and genres to help me consider new ideas to incorporate into my music. These include new concepts in harmony, pattern, rhythmic elements, a general vibe, or any other aspect of music. With flamenco, I was really influenced by the traditional way of counting,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2,
the unique ways of accenting, and the types of patterns I hear a lot with the acoustic guitar. In particular, I took note of the extreme level of virtuosity, rhythmic energy, and the fast strumming patterns. So when I first started out on this journey, I got help from my friend Jeremy, who was a classmate of mine at Juilliard.
Or like this.
He's incredibly talented and versatile. And since graduating, he's been freelancing in New York City while learning all kinds of new genres. One of them being flamenco. So I asked him to give me a lesson on some of the basics of flamenco, and that put me off to a great start.
The super backbone of the solea is 1, 1, 1, 2. Like that. So there's 2 halves. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. First half, what it's called is the compás. That's another term. The compás is the compass. It's also like, think of like the ruler, the compass. It's the same thing. It's the structure. It's the backbone. So then there's 2 halves. Solea por bulería is only changing ba 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 ba. You just change. You just shift. Now, I guess the next thing is, and don't freak out, but they won't count it like that. They count it 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So you clip the end?
No.
No.
It's just what they call it.
Okay,
It would be.
okay.
It would be.
So it's about accenting?
No. Think of the numbers as sounds. How about that? Think of the numbers as sounds, not actual numbers.
Okay. So a lot of this confused me in the beginning, but 2 things really helped me understand this form of counting much better. The first was actually to count in Spanish rather than to count in English.
1,
2,
2,
3,
3. 거기까지는 1, 2, 3.
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7.
7. 몰라 그러면.
아니 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Sort of. After getting used to it, there was a certain rhythm to the language itself that allowed for beats and accenting to feel a little more natural to me. These numbers rhyme. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A little bit. Not completely, but they rhyme enough to me that make them stand out. The second was to start visualizing the rhythm with what is commonly known as the flamenco clock, which instead of being linear is circular.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You substitute un do for 11 and 12.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So with this layout, the basic DNA of flamenco rhythm involves emphases on 3 and 10, and sometimes also 6 and 8. With this in place, depending on where you start and stop your cycles, you can accommodate the rhythmic changes of the different styles within the genre. So this sort of reminds me of how modes work in harmony. Say that we have C major, all white keys starting on C. Now, instead of starting on C, we start on D. Still the same notes, just in a different order, different starting point. It has a different sound. Now it's D Dorian. If we start on E, we have E Phrygian, which is a commonly used mode in flamenco. So that's how I'm understanding the different shifts in rhythm, where you have the same clock, the same format with the accents and the numbering, but you just shift around the starting point so that it becomes a different form of the original rhythm.
The most important thing is to decide on which beat of the clock you need to begin. So, when using the flamenco clock, you don't shift the accents within the 12-beat pattern, but at the beginning. Soleá, caña, soleá popularia, as well as alegría, and related genres such as cantiña, mirapra, romera, and caracoles start on beat 1. The bulería, guajira, petenera, and fandango de Huelva start on beat 12. The siguería and related genres such as cabale, liviana, serrana, and martinete start on beat 8.
To me, this is why I was confused, is because someone, if you look, what is bulería rhythm? They would say, then I would look at the videos and they would count in, and then they would go, like, what? Where's the beat? Or they would go, like, well, that just sounds like it's in like 6/8 or something, like, okay, well, what's that? Sometimes they would go like this. Well, I don't get it, but the song says it's in bulería. What's going on? It's still always happening. And that's how people can improvise. There's like these little gears that you can choose from. So much stuff happens, these crazy, like, wild syncopations happen, all these offbeats. So like the guitar will do this too. Before the remate, like when it's really getting like about to close, like that, they'll go
Okay.
Like, and then the cajon player will it's like a little game for a second, and then it's like and that's what makes it so exciting, because everybody's like resolving at the same time.
Now, talking more about harmony, I got really familiar with firstly the Andalusian cadence and the Phrygian mode. In flamenco, the harmony often shifts away from the main key on the 3. So with these ingredients in mind, I started to write my piece for the mini keyboard, and throughout this process, I continued to listen to various flamenco artists. And I would improvise, often using the Andalusian cadence and the Phrygian mode. Hey, flamenco! By the way, I really recommend checking out David Bruce's video on flamenco
So flamenco was born in this region of Spain known as Andalusia.
because he goes more in depth about the history and origins of flamenco, which is a crucial part in understanding the nature of this music.
Listen how they phrase it, listen how they, because there is a swing too. We didn't talk about this. I'll try and play as robotic as possible.
Okay.
Right? One, da, ba, ba, ba. Right? But now with a little more feeling, the swing. So I'm also playing accents, which help, but I'm also it's not quite even.
It's sort of
Yeah, if I was to grid it, this is also how I think of it, which is helpful and not a lot of people talk about it. If I'm going, the rests are also swung. The grid is just, or something, you know what I mean? That's how I think of it at least.
the grid itself
The grid is different.
is
The whole grid is different. It's not just that rhythm when it's being played is swung. The whole grid is swung.
Pro tip.
That's my favorite thing now.
I'm going for E major, and then F major, and back to E major. So before I went out to record the piece, I went onto Instagram and did a live stream where I asked you all where I should go film, and I got a suggestion to do it at a public library, and so I did. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I focus mostly on the overall rhythmic qualities of flamenco, and that's because that's only how far I've been able to get into this. It's been taking me a while, and plus I'm a little slow, but there are plenty of more things to learn about, including what happens with PALMAS, which is the clapping, what happens with the singing and dancing, which are actually the most important parts. More in terms of harmony and rhythm. I understand there are some styles that actually don't count in 12, but in 4, and just more in general. So hopefully I can spend more time on that in the future. If you haven't seen my other genre exploring videos, do check them out in the playlist, and let me know in the comments which genres you think I should explore in the future.
You almost did. You second guessed yourself.
Yeah.